Number 7. 23% of people say they've seen a ghost or felt its presence. If 10 people are asked, what's the probability that at least 3 of them have seen a ghost or felt its presence? The given information is only a percentage, so 23% of people, which means we're going to be using a binomial distribution here, because to work with normal distributions, you have to have a mean and standard deviation provided. Now, answering this, we have to decide if we're going to use binom PDF or binom CDF. We're looking for the probability that at least 3 out of 10 people have seen a ghost or felt its presence, so that means that we're going to be adding multiple outcomes together, so we definitely need to use binom CDF. Now, binom CDF works only, when you give that third input, it's only going to add from starting from 0 up to that third input value. So let me kind of break this down so we can really kind of understand exactly how this problem is going to work out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a binomial distribution, and this is merely for you to just kind of see how this all fits together. Don't worry about doing this in general. So I'm going to create a binomial distribution. I'm actually going to use binom PDF, and I'm going to put 10 and 0.23 in as inputs. That returns a list of probabilities going from 0 outcomes all the way up to 10. But I want to put this in a list so that it's a little bit easier to see here. If I go in my list editor, I've got all those probabilities here. So this is the probability of 0 outcomes, 1 person has seen a ghost, 2 people have seen a ghost, 3 people, 4, and so forth. All right, now, in order to make this a little bit more readable, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it to a table on screen here. Okay, there we go. So here's my binomial distribution. If you'll notice, these lower probabilities I've changed to basically 0. If you'll recall, like 1.4 e to the negative 5th power means 1.4 times 10 to the negative 5th. So I slide my decimal 5 places to the left here, which means I get 0.000001, which rounds to 4 places of 0. So I went ahead and changed those. Okay. Now, here's the thing about this. I'm looking for the probability that at least 3 of them have seen a ghost or felt its presence. So if I input binom CDF, let me write it right here. Binom CDF 10.23 and 3. Then what that's going to do is it's going to give me the probability of the first 3 outcomes. So starting with 0 and going up to 3 here. So it's going to add together 0.0733, 0.2189, 0.2942, and 0.2343. But that's not at least 3. All right, so I need to adjust this. Now, another thing that I could do is I could do binom CDF 10.23 3, but subtract that result from 1, and that's going to give me the complement. Now, if I do that, it's going to be closer to what I'm looking for, but it's going to be the complement. So the complement of this is going to start with 4, because 0 to 3 is included here, which basically leaves 4 to 10, left over after that. But that's still not really what I'm looking for, because I want at least 3, because at least 3 includes the 3. So I need to make an adjustment here, and here's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to adjust this. And instead of going up to 3, I'm only going to go up to 2 here for each one of, well, I'm only going to do this once, but only going to go up to 2. Now, what that's going to do, let me get rid of these. Is binom CDF up to 2 will just include 0, 1, and 2, these probabilities. So the complement of that is going to be starting from 3 and going all the way to 10. So that's what I'm looking for right here. So when I go to my calculator here, I'm going to do 1 minus, I need binom CDF. Then I'll put in 10.23, and lastly the 2. And that's going to give me the sum of these probabilities here. So my answer is 0.4137. Now, when you're working this problem out, on your tests, you don't have to go through and write up this entire distribution. I just want you to understand it's a little tricky when you're doing it, at least to understand that you need to, do the complement starting with, the 2 here instead of the 3. It's a little bit tricky, so you kind of have to, really understand what's going on. So that's why I was going through so much detail. But once you get the hang of it, then you can basically, once you see the at least, you would just go straight to this right here, just 1 minus binom CDF, your inputs, and then 1 less than what your actual input is.